Yo, comrades, what's up? Hope everyone's doing great. We're here to talk about Nikke campaign level 24, Banishment. So we pick up where we left off a couple weeks ago with Crow on the train. She's listening to the hubbub, the people talking about being injured, helping each other out, whatever. She's very neutral about the whole situation, if not a little disgusted. She decides she's going to go to the bathroom, but not because she needs to use it, obviously, but to set up a bomb. Ruh-roh. So she heads several cars down on the train and then hits a button to set it off. Nothing happens. Then Solian and Diesel burst in from Infinity Rail. They talk about how AZX, the train they're on, interrupts all signals for detonation, and that this thing was put in after the terrorist attack that killed them and Diesel's little brother. And it's able to do this because of, like, future magic. They ask her if she's the one that blew up the train that killed them and Diesel's brother, and she's like, you betcha, which is how she got caught up and put into a Nikke originally, I guess. They argue a bit. Diesel's like, I'm going to kill you, motherfucker. And then she's struggling because of the nymph, and Crow's, like, taunting her and stuff, and then Diesel starts to, like, actually overcome the nymph when Solian, like, puts her hand on the gun and pushes it down, and she's like, it's not worth it. Which causes Crow to just, like, meander off. Which is kind of silly because you could still stop her. Like, oh well, whatever. Solian and Diesel talk about killing and about living themselves and about allowing themselves to live without going down like a dark path, which is kind of like a theme of this arc of that's funny arc, but ARC arc of Nikke got us a victory at this point. Outside, Crow meets up with Viper. They talk about Jackal maybe being dead and then move on. Over with the counters and us, Diesel is called in to give us a report about what just happened. We tell her she did a good job not killing Crow. We then try to contact Sayun with an update on what Crow's doing, about Uni and Crow working together and all that stuff. But Sayun doesn't want to listen. She just chews us out and, like, hangs up the phone. So it's like, stupid dumb bitch. So we head over to the medical center because that's where Crow's at. And on the way, we put together that Crow is after Sayun, but she's working through all these incidents and accidents and stuff, and that there's, like, some other motive there and whatnot. And there's a lot of, like, thinking and, like, putting pieces together. Meanwhile, back over at the gate to the Outer Rim, Moron is holding off Dobin's Nikke forces, which he's just sending, like, one at a time for some insane reason. Dobin gets super mad, and he's like, I'm going to send the whole force. So he does, and then Moron's like, well, guess I'm dead. And at that point, Rosanna and Sakura show up with their gangs, and they drive Dobin off, who is fucking livid. He tosses threats to the Queen. They toss threats back. The fact that he abandoned the Ark during the time of the invasion of the Raptures, and they got bringing all these Nikkes over and stuff. We then switch over to Ingrid and Mustang, who are viewing Jackal's mind scan, and they're like, Jackal's a dumb bitch, man. She has no clue what anything's going on. She's just like, Crow's like, go do this, and she's like, okay, I'll go do it. I don't know what's going on. And that the only motivation she had for doing anything is just for fun. They then talk about how they've been trying to contact Sayun, but they can't. And then Rappy gets in touch with Ingrid to kind of fill her in since Sayun doesn't want to listen to us. Elsewhere, Sayun gets a message from Uni. Uni claims to have caught Crow and that she's at the medical center. So we get to the center and decide to split up to try to find Sayun. Mihara contacts us and tells us that they're all at the head to the director's office. So instead of splitting up, that's where we go. We then sneak on over there. We don't sneak over there, but the game takes us over there, where Uni and Mihara are meeting with Sayun. Sayun's, like, early, apparently, and she's like, what's going on? And so she pulls out her phone and mentions that she's made an adjustment to the app so she can blow up Crow and Viper's neck. And then Uni uses her power and starts torturing her, screaming about why Sayun is such a bitch, what she did to Mihara, how it wasn't fair. Mihara tells her to stop. Uni freaks out, saying that Mihara is not actually Mihara. At that point, re-rolling with the counters. We interrupt this torture session, try to calm Uni down. She does not work. She does her, like, jutsu on everybody, making everybody paralyzed, including Mihara. She says a lot of crazy stuff, and she's about to shoot Sayun in the head, but then Mihara is able to, like, overcome whatever and gets in the way. So Uni then freaks out some more and then gets shot. By who? By Crow. That's right. Her and Viper watching this whole time, and Crow says something about Uni being a bitch, and that her only job was to kill Sayun immediately, and she didn't, so now she's going to do it instead. She then explains to us that her grandmaster plan is just to have us fall from grace. She wanted to see two things. She wanted to see how the Ark would react to having the Ark invaded by Raptures, and then she wanted to see us fall from grace because we're too perfect and too heroic, and she hates it. And now we always do the right thing and everything. But if we kill a Nikke, that makes us not perfect anymore, right? It like tarnishes us. And so she's going to get us to a point where we want to do that. And then there's no way for us to come back from that, and it makes her super happy. She then shoots everyone but us. So, we're freaking out. We think she's killed, like the counters, Mihara, Uni, everybody. And after she leaves, we're able to, like, push ourselves up. We check everybody else. We see Sayun just, like, having a complete, like, seizure on the ground. We're just like, fuck her. We're going to go kill Crow. As they're fleeing, Viper starts to question Crow and about like what is the point of all this stuff, about how like we're actually a good person and how we like forgive her even though she tried to kill us at some point and all this stuff. And then Crow's like, you've fallen for him, haven't you? And then she starts walking off, and then Viper's like sitting there thinking, and Crow turns around and is like, Viper, what are you doing? And she's like, I think I have fallen for him. Crow's like, what the fuck? And then she sends a text, and she's like, and Crow's like, what are you doing? And she's like, I sent a text to two people who want you dead the most, and one of them's going to crash through the roof right now, and it's Ellis and Harper. She's burned, she's bleeding, she's barely alive, but somehow she survived. She calls out Crow for being a psychopath. Crow is like, and like, I thought we were friends, and blah, blah, blah. And Crow's like, I have no friends. I was going to betray you. The day I met you, I knew I was going to betray you. And then Piper's like, I switch sides. I'm going to go switch sides. I'm going to tell them everything and plead for like clemency. And I know that like, I can't remember, she calls us Honey or whatever. I know Honey will take care of me or whatever. They argue some more. And then we stumble in, and Viper comes over to apologize and confess everything. We're like pissed at her. We're not as pissed at Crow as we're at Crow, but we're pissed at her anyway. She doesn't want us to kill Crow because that would mean Crow wins and stuff. She talks about she switched sides. We then kind of move back over to Ingrid, who is with Sayun in ICU. They are searching for Crow right now. They're going to do everything. Sayun's like, her hand's all fucked up and stuff. Wardress is being like, they're in injuries. Counters are in the repair center, which is like the hospital center for the Nikkes. Sayun's like, fuck this, pulls out her cell phone, she starts having a little breakdown, screaming about her hand and everything, and then she presses the button, and then as she presses the button on her phone as Ingrid's trying to stop her, and then Sayun like, oh fuck, I hit the wrong button. We then head back over to us in like the sewers, presumably, and then a light on the collar of Viper starts to light up, and we're like freaking out, we're trying to pull it off and trying to break it or whatever, and then she's like, oops, I guess this is my time, and so she like shoves us away right as the thing like, the whole room like lights up and it blows up, you know, this huge explosion, and her body just collapses. At that point, Elysian Harper is like, she's like, you got to get her, you got to stop Crow. And then she passes out, and Crow's like, well, I'm out. Starts walking off. So we run up, catch her right as she's trying to get on an elevator, get the fuck out of here, and knock her down, and then like wrestle around with her for a bit, which is tough because she's a Nikke, obviously. But we're able to use some of our like martial arts talent that we got from Johan and stuff, and then we're pull a gun out and we're about to shoot her, and she taunts us. She's so excited that we're gonna shoot her and kill her, and this is gonna be our fall from grace and everything. And then bam, she collapses. But it wasn't us. It was Rappy, and Rappy shot her with a suppression round. And apparently she's fine. And we're like, holy shit. And Rappy's like, don't ever change. Don't give up on yourself. Don't follow the darkness. And she saved us from taking that turn. And she mentions that shoulders protect us, which kind of wraps up like the drama, and then the rest of this is kind of like epilogue for the last arc. So a bit later, Neon does a recap, so we're all tracking everything because this is like 5 or 6 episode or chapters of like information. So Crow had a mind scan, 100% in charge and responsible for everything. We then kind of switch over to her and Ingrid talking. Ingrid informs her that she'll be thoroughly examined because somehow she was able to override her nymph to do harm to various people and whatnot. And then Crow's very like arrogant about the whole situation. Next up, we switch over to Dobin and Mustang, and Dobin's pissed off. He's talking about Mustang, how Tetra's going to be in trouble, and how the queens are going to get it. And then Mustang gives him like a earful, tells him he's a piece of shit, says he's lucky the queen stopped him from invading the Outer Rim because there was no reason to attack him. There was no proof that anything was going on there. And the fact that he like took Nikke's away from fighting the Raptures in the Ark is like a huge deal. So the fact that the queen stopped him was actually a benefit to him. And that even Enoch knows that the Outer Rim serves a purpose for the Ark's safety. And that in fact, it's not like Mustang owes Dobin. Dobin owes Tetra and Mustang specifically for a favor. We find out that Ainz kind of recaps that the Queens did fight central government property and did damage it. So there was a chance they would have got mind wiped, but Mustang made like a deal where he handed over like the rights essentially to the Tetra Broadcasting completely over to the central government. And so we then see Ainz like in a flashback checking in with him, and he's like, oh, whatever, I've pulled myself up from worse situations than this. I'm not concerned about it. There's a lot of other stuff going on. And it's fucking like Mustang is so he's the best. And then what about Wardress, right? So Uni is catatonic and in solitary confinement, just like completely out of her mind. Mihara took a termination round to the head. So they had to remove her nymph to do brain surgery on her and then re-uploaded the nymph or whatever, and she's still recovering. The central government is playing off the whole as like a deteriorating infrastructure because it'd be much worse if it was like Raptures actually got in because of like betrayal or because of like whatever else. It's like, oh, our bad, we just didn't seal things up, but everyone's safe and everyone's okay. What about Sayun? She's totally fucked up physically. Once she recovers, the Enoch's going to make a decision on her, and it's not going to be great. So, how did everyone survive? So, Crow actually did not use termination rounds, as the game calls them, like real bullets, on any of the Nikkes. She just used suppression rounds because the Nymph, she couldn't override it that much. So, and Rappy was able to recover because she activated Red Hood a little bit. Then it's time for us all to go see Enoch for her verdicts. Elsewhere, Harper is talking to Ingrid. It's been a while since they've seen each other. Harper is barely hanging on to life, and she tells Ingrid she wants to be a Nikke, and she wants to atone for everything that she's done. So Ingrid's like, okay, we can do that. Over in the Outer Rim, Jackal's just laughing, and then she's like, it's no fun laughing and having fun by yourself. And the Viper shows up. Apparently, we saved her life, because when we grabbed her collar, we moved it like just right, so that when it exploded, instead of blowing up her head, it just blew up like part of her head and didn't destroy her brain, so they were able to give her like a new head. And now she loves us even more because now we saved her life, right? We go to Enoch, and so we get rewarded with like an upgrade because of all the heroic deeds he did. But we did lie about Apis. We did lie about this thing with Sayun, with bringing the Raptures into, the whole thing with Mattis and bringing the Raptures where Laplace had to like save everyone. And so we get punished. But the promotion and the punishment is exactly the same, so like nothing happens. We ask Enoch about Doro, and she's like, mind your own fucking business. And we're like, okie dokie. Like, one more thing. Was this the worst case scenario? And then Enoch is like, no, the worst case scenario would be 2 more heretics in the Ark. I don't know if we could actually deal with that. Speaking of Doro, she's meeting with Birmingham. She wants to make a deal. They talk about her and Eden, about the radio silence on Eden, and then suddenly she just like pops in there, and how she was supposed to like sneak on in here, and she had like a secret elevator she was supposed to go in and not do this ostentatious entrance. And then she's like, but everyone loved me, right? And he's like, well, no one was around because they were all hiding. So no. And she's like, well, that's too bad. She then gives him data about the optical camouflage so we can start like reclaiming the surface, which is like something that the Ark's been trying to do for a long time. In return, she's going to be the mediator for Ark and Eden relationships. And he's like, why now? And she's like, well, you have a little commander. That kind of piqued my interest about things. Anyway, she's going to go just walk around and hang out while Birmingham talks to the higher ups about this deal and about having her around and whatnot. Birmingham asks Polly and Miranda to kind of watch out for her and kind of keep track of her. And then also, after Doro leaves, asks them to spy on her. So she meets up with them. They're talking about what they can go do. She wants to go check out the MMR Research Center. Actually, I think it is just MMR is the Research Center. They get there, Miranda gets super sleepy, and then Polly pulls out like her phone and is like, oh no, alpha particle concentration, and then she passes out. And Doro's like, uh-oh, this is not a good thing. Why is it like this? So then she heads to this like secret door that she's not supposed to be going into and like tears it open. Inside she finds Nylister, who faked her death, right? So it looked like she killed Nylister and dragged her over here, but she didn't. So they go back and forth, and then Doro is like, where's your weapon? She's like, all of a sudden she's like, wait, where are your weapons? Nylister then mentions that she fed them to them, and then tentacles shoot out at Doro. Elsewhere, we get a call from Enoch. These high levels of alpha particle there's a high level of alpha particle concentration over at the MMR. And the last time that Enoch has recorded of seeing this level of particle concentration was when Mattis and Absolute were beating up on Indivilia, who's the heretic. The like, what do they call it? She's the heretic who is like subject H or material H or whatever. And she was trying to run away and heal, and it's like rut-row. So apparently now there's Nylister and Indivilia are in the Ark, worst case scenario. So we have to head there and help Doro out. So we find Material H. It's not fully recovered yet. Enoch tells us that Nylister is fighting Doro, so we fight Material H and we win. But rut-row is just an illusion. The real Indivilia is actually here. Nylister shows up as well. So now we're in big fucking trouble because there's 2 heretics. And Indivilia has been eating a whole bunch of like delicious Nikkes that have been lying around. So she's all charged up and ready to go. She then cuts Ainz in half and then Neon in half. And we're like, fuck. Dora then rolls up, takes a sniper shot at them, but then Chatterbox gets in the way of it. And it's like, oh, we're so fucked. Dora then asks Rappy to cover her. And then Rappy's like, no, you cover me. She then activates like full Red Hood mode. So her head turns like crimson red and she gets like super charged up. And she tells Dora to follow her. They then beat the shit out of Nylister and Indivilia. Like, just, they pummeled him. And then Rappy's like, Enoch, find me the closest elevator. When I get in there, I'm going to launch it, and then you destroy it. And she's like, roger that. So she's just, like, pummeling Chatterbox and Indivilia and Nylister's beating the shit out of them. She drives them all, and then Doro starts even lagging behind. So Rappy's doing it all by herself. She then beats them into an elevator shaft and hits the thing, and all 4 of them, like, launch out of there. And then Enoch destroys the shaft. A bit later, Polly and Miranda are reporting to Birmingham about what happens. He thinks Doro might have been working with Nylister. He talks to Enoch about it, and she's like, I don't know if they were working together, but they both dislike the Ark, so there's something that we definitely need to look more into. with that. She then mentions amping up their defenses of the Ark, and that she has a plan, and her plan is to create 2 Nikkes that they will be completely and utterly controlled by her as like defenses, and that they'll be very special, and their whole point will be like the defense of the Ark. And he approves that. Elsewhere, we as a commander are talking to Ingrid. We mentioned to her, one of the things Rappy said right before she left was, she's like, you have to make sure you bring me back, right? And so we're talking to Ingrid about the whole situation about going, once Ainz and Neon are better, we're going to go with them and Dora up to the surface to find Rappy and make sure the heretics have been taken care of. And then we bring up the point that it's like, she said, bring me back, but it didn't seem like she was talking about physically bringing her back. And then Ingrid's like, I can't say anything else about that. And we're like, what? And she's like, you're going to be on the surface. If you find out information on your own that's top secret, that's on you. And we're like, got it. Elsewhere again, Sayun is finally receiving judgment for everything she's done. Anik declares that she will be turned into a Nikke and that she'll be turned over to us as her commander. Excellent. Up on the surface, Nylister is harassing Chatterbox and Indivilia for being assholes. And she's like, I came all the way down here. I pretended to be dead and all this stuff just to help you people. And you're unthankful. And you need to go find this and do this. And then finally Chatterbox is like, shut up. I only follow the orders of the queen. And then Indivilia asks Chatterbox if he's hungry. And so they both eat Nylister. She got fucked. Elsewhere, we see Rappy just standing alone, and then she passes out, and then she stands back up, only this time she's transformed completely into Red Hood. What? Crazy. And we'll get more of that in a couple weeks. So go ahead, like, subscribe, comment, and I'll catch you guys later. Bye.